You know, I actually just want to savor this morning. Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods here on this Monday morning hangover. And man, I finally didn't get to sleep till about 2 o'clock this morning. By the time the game seemed like it ran late, by the time we get cleaned up and everything else from the big sub and things, and saying goodbye to everybody and stuff, doing the game ball video and stuff, and then it's just like I was just like a kid at Christmas. You'll notice the clock is at 0 because today is Odell Beckham Jr. Day, or should I say days, where the Dallas Cowboys are on their recruiting trip for Odell. Now, Dak Prescott said on adding a potential Odell Beckham Jr., getting late into the year with what you've got coming up just in our schedule, then obviously making a run at the Super Bowl, you want to make sure you have as many weapons as you can. There you go. Dak Prescott. Boom. You want as many weapons as you can. I'm going to come back to Odell Beckham Jr. because we do have, not everything was good news last night. Anthony Brown, I know a lot of people can't stand Anthony Brown and have forever been saying, cut Anthony Brown, trade Anthony Brown, anybody but Anthony Brown. You know, you're going to find out more about Anthony Brown because he tore his Achilles tendon. He's done for the year. You have to understand that teams are staying away from Diggs a lot more. And they'll go to Anthony Brown. He's getting the lion's share of the targets and things like that. And in the NFL, I mean, I've seen Hall of Famers get beat like Darryl Green. Nobody's perfect out there. They're going to be doing an MRI today, but it's pretty much feared that the Achilles is torn. You know, the Cowboys always do MRIs on a fingernail, it seems like now. The Cowboys, whew, can I say, I'm going to say this because, you know, watching the game, the live stream, and getting people's reaction in real time, you know, we get 1,400 people, you know, in there watching the game at a time, and getting the pulse of Cowboy fans that are literally ready at the drop of a hat to say, I'm sick of this shit, and literally just go through and fire everybody, you know, fire Mike McCarthy, you know, Dak Prescott, he sucks, draft another quarterback, you know, oh man, you know, on a play-by-play basis, literally ready to kill the Cowboys and just rip it up and start over. Relax a little bit. Give us some time. This team is now a second half team. They play better in the second half. They've gotten so they make better adjustments in the second half. The Eagles are like a second quarter team. That seems where they do most of their damage in the second quarter for the most part. And understand, this is actually a good thing because the Cowboys traditionally have been that team that starts out the season really good and then waffles at the end. They run out of gas in the third and fourth quarter of the season. This happened last year. We started out great. We got a bunch of injuries. We had a few little problems here, you know, COVID and things like that. You know, we had a PCL tear. We had a plantar fasciitis, and we kind of got down and weren't playing well. Yesterday's game was kind of a microcosm of what we actually want, although you want to start out playing better. But when you think about how we played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we were awful. Dak was awful. The offensive line was awful. The wide receivers were awful. The defense was okay. But it was a bad game. And they killed us. You know, Stephen A. Smith The season's over. The season's over. You know, Dak Prescott breaks his thumb. But you can see that the team is not giving up. They don't panic. They didn't panic when they lost Dak Prescott. They didn't panic yesterday with an Indianapolis Colts team. And I loved how the Eagle fans, who have a short memory, are descending like cockroaches. You're having trouble with this team? Come playoffs, you're going to be asked. It's like, wait a minute. You don't remember. Hold on. Hello?
Yes, sir. This is Jim Coleman, Dominion Energy.
Yeah, how are you doing?
Good.
Sorry about that. That was actually the power company. Thank goodness. Calling me back, and they're trying to reschedule it. They dropped the ball on understanding because they kept saying, we got to set the meter. It's like, you can't set the meter. There's no wire to the house. And I reiterated it for many, many, many times. And they said sometimes they get confused at the call center. So they're going to go out, take a look at it, and get me on the schedule sooner than later, which is great news. But back to the Eagles fans that were descending on the channel like cockroaches, like a wave of locusts, and literally talking so much smack because they had already got their victory. They blew out, you know, they blew out the Titans. They blew out the Titans. And they're feeling good and feeling like the best team out there in football. But they don't remember that for 59 minutes against this same Colt team, they were behind. They were behind. And it was to the grace of Jalen Hurts with a quarterback draw that willed their team to win and to get out alive with the victory. The same Colts team apparently rises up when they play better teams because they beat Kansas City. I'm not going to say that they're a great team. Matty Ice is definitely, 1 foot in the retirement home. But they have played good football. To put this in perspective, the Eagles only scored 17 points against that team. And us as Cowboy fans, just like ones that were, the season is done with Dak Prescott hurt that week 1, Cowboys surprised you. And we need to stop killing the team. Understand, everybody out there makes mistakes and turnovers. Would you believe that Josh Allen and Matty Ice are tied for the most turnovers in football? Josh Allen, 14. Josh Allen got more turnovers than anybody else other than Matt Ryan. We expect as Cowboy fans that there's never an incomplete pass, that there's never not a 20-yard run, that there's never not a made field goal, that there's never a missed tackle. Guys, we scored 54 points yesterday by hook or crook. This team, as much as people say, I'm sick of Dak Prescott, draft somebody else, has averaged 39.8 points a game over the last 5 games. You're averaging almost 40 points. You're this far away from averaging 40 points a game. The NFL season is up and down. This wasn't the Cowboys' best game. I will give you that. First half, you were looking at mistakes, drop passes, overthrows, missed tackles. But if you win a game 54-19 when you're playing your worst football, Lord help other teams when you get your shit together. So here's what we've got. What we have as far as Odell Beckham. You've got now the highest scoring team over the last 6 weeks since Dak Prescott by far has come back. this without the best wide receiving core where we feel we need Odell Beckham Jr. You've got a defense that's one of the better scoring defenses, top 5 in the NFL. This team is doing really good things. Odell Beckham, coming to town today, will be wined and dined. He'll be going to the Mavs game. Luka is going to be helping to roll out the welcome wagon. I don't know if Luka is on Jerry Jones's payroll or not, but, you can guarantee he's going to be courtside. He'll be meeting all the staff and checking out the facilities and things. Tomorrow he'll be hanging out with Dak Prescott on Dak's off day, and by midweek, the plan is for him to be signed by a team. The only thing that's kind of still in the back of my mind is he's not working out for anybody, or at least he hasn't for the Giants or the Bills. If he immediately is signed, then I would imagine that we're going to see. I mean, we are, I guess in a way, we're trying to do a marriage, like an old school marriage where, you don't consummate the marriage until you're married. You're not really seeing what you're getting until after you sign and give the ring. So you say, I do. I guess that's the way you look at this situation here with Odell, that you're going to have to just trust the fact that he's saying, I'm going to be ready, or trust your doctors. I'm assuming that the medical staff is going to be able to poke and prod and twist and turn and bend and all that stuff and look at the x-rays and MRIs and things like that to see exactly where it is and how it's going to be. So we know there'll be a lot of news on that today. Now, of course, this is what's the thing now. The San Francisco 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo, messes up his ankle. He's done for the season. You now have Mr. Irrelevant, and if you don't know what Mr. Irrelevant is, that's the last player drafted in the NFL draft. And typically, it doesn't really make a whole lot of noise. That's who the starting quarterback is for the San Francisco 49ers currently for the rest of the season. He played good yesterday. Played really good. The first Mr. Irrelevant to ever throw a touchdown pass. But you have to believe that was just the first game. There's no book. People weren't playing against him. Their defense for San Francisco played outstanding against Miami. But there's going to be games where they're going to need to score some points, although the way their offense is structured, being a running team, is better suited for them. But you have to feel like San Francisco took a step back as far as the hierarchy of the NFL teams. So currently, best chances to reach the Super Bowl by ESPN analysis, 50% chance that the Cowboys reach the Super Bowl. Still kind of far away out there before we get there. A lot of things can happen and change. San Francisco, of course, probably was the odds-on favor going into this week till Jimmy G got hurt. Eagles, 30%. Vikings, 9%. Now, this may be one of those made-up polls right there to go ahead and put the expectation on the Cowboys to, of course, get more publicity and views. But here's what's kind of cool. NFL point differential. When we beat the Vikings and we blew the doors off of them, their point differential, because we scored 37 more points, it changed their point differential to a -2. We lead the NFL in point differential at 127 points. We have scored 127 more points than our opposition. The Bills are second at 124. The Eagles are third at 112, and the 49ers at 92. The reason why this is eye-opening is when you think about the 5 games that Cooper Rush played, where it was really close games, those numbers actually hold this thing back. To be leading this statistic now, knowing that Dak has only played 6 games where we're 5-1, is insane. Let's listen to ESPN this morning and listen to the haterade, because winning 54-19 isn't good enough.
Dallas Cowboys have the highest chance of any team in the entire National Football League to make the Super Bowl and to win the Super Bowl. They now have a 50-50 shot to get there and a 31% chance to win the Super Bowl. That is according to our Football Index.
As another famous Mr. Clark once said,
yes.
You smoke crack, don't you? Then jump.
Don't do that.
You smoke crack, don't you? Then you jump. Because I don't care what nobody says. If you've watched these teams play throughout the year, come on, Greeny. I know you've been. I know
I've got the flu.
I know you just got back, man.
But go ahead, talk.
Yeah, when you watch the Philadelphia Eagles play throughout this season, what was the one thing we said? This is the team that has trouble stopping the run. Yeah. They played one of the best run teams in the entire NFL yesterday, and they pound them. And then offensively, you see the growth in the passing game where yesterday wasn't about RPO. It wasn't about zone read. It was knowing I now have a guy that can beat your guy. Right. And if you're worried about him, I have another guy that can beat your guy, Devontae Smith.
Worried about him?
I have another one. And so when you look at this team, I just think the Philadelphia Eagles are stacked on both sides of the football. The Dallas Cowboys are coming. The Dallas Cowboys are continuing to ascend. But when you look at Jalen Hurts at playing at an MVP level, what this defense can do when they're completely tied in, and then knowing the skill players on the outside, it's still hard for me to say that anyone in the NFC has a better track to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, 100%. And what did Bill Parcells always say? You are,
you are what your record is.
Well, one team's got 11 wins.
Yeah.
The other one's got 9. And I'm sorry, I think the Eagles are the most complete football team. And when you see that pass rush, the 6 sacks right there, what did they do? They go out and they get a pass rusher, right? Robert Quinn. Yep. They go out and they
who's injured and hasn't done shit.
Hassan Reddick already.
Tackles in there. And by the way, the rookie comes back in there, Davis. This team is so complete right now. They can beat you with their defense by forcing turnovers, getting sacks, and smothering the run. They can beat you running the football. By the way, they weren't they the number 1 rushing team in the league last year?
Yeah.
You got a quarterback that runs like a tailback. And by the way, when he throws the ball down the field, he's at 58% completions of 25-plus yards throwing. Give me a break. That stat comes from him. Well, thank you.
Why do you look perplexed?
Did everybody watch the games yesterday?
Yeah.
The Cowboys are lucky the Colts imploded.
Oh, wait.
The Cowboys looked.
I thought she was going on their side.
No. I went to bed when it was 21-19 when Matt Ryan threw that touchdown pass, and I was like, ooh, I might wake up to it. Dude, the Colts imploded. You guys were impressed by the Cowboys yesterday?
Yes.
For what?
Hey,
for putting hanging
they started playing D, bro.
On an NFL team.
Yeah,
and by the way, that
50
NFL team
points.
had Super Bowl aspirations to start. I can't help that
August?
Quit, that they let go of the rope. I can't help that.
Hold on.
But yeah, in August.
No. You've been around him too long.
Wait, did the guy?
You've been around him too long.
Rushing
he likes it. Look.
Did the guy lead the league in rushing last year?
It was 21-19.
Yes.
They throw another shallow cross to CeeDee Lamb. The Colts defense can't tackle. All of a sudden, there's a tight end screen. Ball pops out.
That Colts defense
touchdown.
was ranked
All of a
6th in the
sudden,
National Football League.
Oh, come
going
on,
into
man.
that game, by the way.
What were you impressed with offensively for them yesterday? What were you impressed with?
Over 200 yards rushing?
4 points on somebody.
3
CeeDee
touchdowns.
Lamb broke 2 tackles on shallow crosses. That was their offense.
That's part of football, though, Dan. It's part of football to create. It's part of football to rush the passer.
Okay, so let me ask you the question this way, because you already said something to this effect to me earlier today. The 49ers have lost their quarterback. Everyone in the NFC, to use your terminology, is average as fudge. At this point, what must the Cowboys accomplish this year?
If the Cowboys don't get to the NFC title game, it's their greatest disappointment in 25 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
They got to go through one healthy team. That's good. That's the Eagles. I don't think they're good enough to beat the Eagles, but they got to go through one team. San Francisco, I still think, is very good, but they're on their 3rd-string quarterback. That's a reality. Yeah. I still think they're very good. But Dan, you got to go through a team with their 3rd. Guys, they were up by 2 against the Colts.
Right, but think about this, though, Dan. I do believe the Eagles are the best team. But think about this. They have to go through one healthy team. And you mentioned it. Sometimes they can be average. And then when we see the Dallas Cowboys play like they played against the Minnesota Vikings, they can look like the best team in the entire league. Going through one real team, you get to the NFC Championship, and it's familiarity, it's contempt, and this is the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Anything can happen, and they're certainly talented enough, and they'll get Odell Beckham Jr. this week.
Okay, that changes the conversation, but if they play yesterday, if they play that game that they did on Sunday Night Football versus Philadelphia, versus San Francisco,
the Colts almost beat the Eagles.
Thank you.
Dan, 2 weeks ago, the Eagles needed not one but two miracle plays from their quarterback to beat those Colts in the fourth quarter of a game that wound up much closer than this one. Where
and it was a 2-point game with 13 minutes
I
to go.
can't believe you got me defending the Cowboys. I never want to come on TV and do that.
You can't watch both teams play.
You're a fucking
Who's better,
idiot.
Tennessee or Indy? We think Tennessee's a better football team. Indy or Philadelphia blew their doors off. The Cowboys were lucky the Colts exploded.
We could see them against the Colts. It was kind of the same thing. The Eagles had a tough game. Like, football is not like that. It doesn't go, oh, you beat them, so you beat this team.
Let me ask you, is the game 60 minutes?
60 minutes.
It is 60
That's
minutes.
correct.
So if you go to bed in the fourth quarter, you miss 30 points.
I watched it this morning, as always.
Tell him he's on crack. What are you doing to me?
Ted Orlowski sleeping on the
Do you
Cowboys.
not understand the words that are coming out my mouth?
Thank you.
Oh, the haters. It doesn't matter what you do, okay? If that had been any other team other than the Cowboys, okay, dominating the fourth quarter to NFL records, it would be, oh, okay, they're the greatest team of all time. They were lucky that the Colts imploded. They imploded because the Cowboys dominated them. I want you to look at something right here. This is how crazy shit is. Right now, Kansas City is the NFL highest scoring offense at 29.2 points a game. Okay? Right here. 2022. Followed by the Eagles, 28.2. Eagles have been doing damage. The Dallas Cowboys right now, today, is third at 27.8. A point and a half off of the NFL highest scoring team of the season. And they're moving on up. Moving on up. Yes, they're moving on up. Because I want you to now look at something else over here. The last three. Take a look at that right there. The last three games, the Dallas Cowboys are averaging 40.7 points a game versus the Lions with 32, the Eagles with 30.7, the Raiders at 29, Miami is 28. You got Kansas City averaging 26.7, all the way down. The Cowboys are scoring points more than anybody else. I know it was the Colts this past week. But when you think about playing the Giants, who right now ended up tying with the Commanders, are in the playoffs, if the playoffs started right now, and the week before, not even the week, 4 days before, Minnesota Vikings, you destroyed, which right now is going to be the number 2 seed. You average 40.7 points a game against 2 out of 3 teams being playoff teams. If that's not good enough, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. So, there we go. The Odell Beckham Jr. watch is on. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys, who, mind you, one other important statistic out there, Cowboys with 48 sacks. They are falling behind on being able to get to that magical 72. They will be still one of the greatest sacking teams in NFL history. They should be able to at least be in the top 10. But right now, another key statistic is the Cowboys, even with Dak Prescott's interceptions, are second in the NFL in turnover differential. Eagles are number 1 at 13. Cowboys are number 2 at 9. And right now, it looks like we are headed for a showdown between the Cowboys and the Eagles. I'm Mark Holmes, and you know it's time to roll.
Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Cowboys Sports Report.